There are times in our lives when we want to be able to figure things out, but we can't. And it can be so difficult to let things go. In this video, I'm going to tell you why this is such a challenge, and I'm going to give you some perspectives that'll help you to be able to let go. I want to share with you a few illustrations, and then I want to go over some verses that you might not have actually ever considered before. So first of all, imagine this. Imagine that you're on a holiday. You're wanting to get to a certain destination, but you don't know the directions. Imagine that you've got no GPS, you've got no map, you've got no internet, you've got no tour guide, no one that can help you, no one that you can ask questions to. You would essentially have zero chance of getting to where you would need to get to, and that journey would be an incredibly stressful one. But imagine that you had someone with you that knows the directions. They know exactly how to get you to where you need to go. You would feel very relaxed, and you would trust that you're going to get to where you need to get to. And this is exactly the same with us and God. We might not have all the answers, but God does. There's a very famous verse, and you would have heard of this before, but I want you to think about this. Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. Imagine that, of trusting God with all of your heart, with everything in you, and not leaning on your own understanding, but recognizing that there's one with greater understanding who will make your path straight if you trust Him. It's the same as with a holiday example. Why would you trust your own understanding when you don't have the answers? When you can trust God who does have the answers. So you might say to me, well, Matt, that sounds really great. And maybe you've even tried this. You're like, I'm struggling to trust God. I'm struggling to let go. I'm struggling to not figure things out. Why is that? Well, I think one of the biggest struggles that people have with this is because they don't have a revelation of the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding of God. They think to themselves, well, I've read the verses. Sure, God has greater understanding, just like a college professor has greater understanding than a kindergarten kid. And there can be a great gap in the understanding between those two people, but it's not like that at all. It would be more like God trying to explain His wisdom and understanding and knowledge to you would be like you trying to explain the internet to an ant. And even that wouldn't be a big enough illustration to demonstrate how much greater the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of God is and how unfathomable it is. So I want to show you some verses that speak to this, and some of these you might not have ever really thought about before, but just actually stop and think about this for a moment and see what this does to you. So the first one is in Isaiah 55:8-9. It says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Imagine how much higher the heavens are than the earth, and that's how much higher God's ways and thoughts are. And that's just an illustration. That doesn't even communicate the difference between God's understanding and your understanding. It can't be put into words. Another one is in Romans 11:33-34, where it says, oh, the depth of the riches and wisdom and knowledge of God. Think about that. That's so deep. How unsearchable are His judgments and how inscrutable His ways. It means beyond finding out. You can't understand or figure out His ways. For who has known the mind of the Lord, or who has been His counselor? So in other words, who needs to tell God anything, because He already knows everything. He already has all the answers. Ecclesiastes 1:5, it says, what is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. And what this means is that those things that we are trying to figure out, there are things which we cannot figure out because God's understanding is so far above ours. And Deuteronomy 29:29, it says, the secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things that are revealed belong to us. So there are things that we just cannot fathom. And imagine just thinking about those verses and God's understanding. What are we called to do when we're in light of recognizing how great the understanding of God is? Where we're called to trust in Him with all our heart, to lean not on our own understanding, to simply acknowledge Him in all our ways and trust that He'll make our path straight. It says a similar thing in Matthew chapter 6:33. It says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all those other things will be added to you." And that passage there, the context is talking about not to be anxious for anything. That's what we should be thinking. There's one other thing that I think people really struggle with. They can say, I can understand that God has this wisdom and this knowledge, but I just don't feel like anything's changing. I don't feel like he's actually doing anything. There's one verse that I never want you to forget. This is an amazing, amazing verse. Think about this whenever you're discouraged, when you think that nothing is happening. Isaiah 64:4, it says, "From of old, no one has heard or perceived by the ear, no eye has seen a God besides you who acts for those who wait for him." Other translations render it, "who works for those who wait for him." So as you are simply waiting for God, coming before him faithfully, putting your trust in him, he is working behind the scenes in ways that you cannot imagine. Your job is simply to trust God, and then what he does in response is he works behind the scenes. So what I want to say to you is, I know that it can be so difficult to try to stop figuring things out. We want to know the answers. It can be so difficult to let go. But know that there is one who has the answers, and put your trust in him. Take each step at a time, knowing that he is working for your good in the background, and he will make a way for you and lead you to the place that he wants to bring you to, if you simply trust in him. I hope this has encouraged you. I hope this has blessed you. Leave your comments below. Would love to hear from you. Talk to you soon. God bless you, friends.